Good morning. So I'm Kristen, this is Jen at Kentucky Reptile Zoo, and today we are extracting from eastern diamondback rattlesnakes. And because these guys are relatively large and they can strike pretty far, you can see that one's looking up at Jim right now, he prefers to get a hold of these guys on the floor. So that's why we have the mat down on the ground. And eastern diamondback rattlesnakes are native to the southeast U.S. We do not have these native in Kentucky. For some reason, it's relatively common for some folks to believe that they exist in Kentucky, but the only large rattlesnake in Kentucky is the timber rattlesnake, not eastern diamondbacks. You've got to go further south for those guys. They are one of the largest rattlesnakes. There's kind of a toss-up. For a long time, we thought eastern diamondbacks were the longest ones, but then there was a western diamondback found that was of equal length. So both easterns and westerns get quite large. The record is around 8 feet long for both of them. And since we're never going to measure every individual that exists, we may never know which is the true longest ever. But certainly easterns are known for being relatively large. That one is actually shedding a fang. I think you can see pretty well. And that's a normal occurrence. All snakes shed and replace all of their teeth throughout their life. And just sometimes when we're extracting, it happens to be shedding right when we're doing the extraction. Normally, if we weren't extracting, that would just come out in the food, and the snake would just swallow it and it would pass through its digestive system. So occasionally we also find them in the feces, which is also totally normal. Totally normal? Completely normal? How about that? Just a little bit about rattlesnakes in general. The rattle itself is made of dried skin. It's the same material that you find in your fingernails, and it's also what the snake's scales are made out of. And a rattlesnake gets a new button or segment on its rattle every time it sheds its skin, and it grows from the base outward. So the part of the rattle that's furthest away from the snake is the oldest part. It is not true that you can tell how old a rattlesnake is by counting the number of segments on its rattle. They actually get, since they get a new one every time they shed their skin, they actually shed 6 or 8 times a year maybe. It depends on how quickly they're growing. If they have an injury or external parasites, then they'll shed more frequently to replace that skin. So there's really no correlation other than if it's longer, it's older, but not in any specific way. So we're just going to change out this vial real quick so it doesn't get too full. Put this back. I'll just briefly show you the vial, but we're going to let Jim stick it back in the cooler so he can keep rolling along. While he's getting the next one out. Rattlesnakes are also a type of pit viper, which means they have a heat-sensitive pit on either side of their face next to their nostril. And that is used by them to help capture their prey, which is usually warm-blooded animals like rodents, sometimes also things like birds or Jim. There is some evidence that they also can use that pit to help them find a good place to thermoregulate their body. So because all snakes are cold-blooded or ectothermic, they have to regulate their temperature by being in a place that is an appropriate temperature for them. And we think they use their pits in that way a little bit as well. Eastern diamondbacks in particular are not legally protected everywhere they occur. There's some argument that maybe they should be because their numbers are certainly declining. And because they're a relatively large snake, they do require a little bit more room, and they don't tend to tolerate human disturbance really well. So they tend to suffer when there is a lot of human encroachment. And that, of course, is happening because there's so many people now that we encroach pretty much on every sort of place. Another bit of a strike there. Okay. So that one, I don't know how well you can see that on the video, but it's actually covering its head with a portion of its coil there. And it's doing that to protect itself. So if Jim was a more traditional predator who was interested in eating the snake would be more protected from, teeth or claws by covering its head with its body like that. So it's kind of interesting behavior right there. So that is the last one we're going to be doing. So once we fix that back, we'll stop this video. And remember, if you're watching, we do offer virtual programs now, so you can look at our website, kyreptilezoo.org, to see more information about that. If you're stuck at home and want something a little bit more special to do, you can check that out. Bye, everyone.